Anuncio aditivo. Licença paternidade como justificativa da proposição. Podíamos lembrar o que disse Chico Anísio. Ao dia da mãe, e o dia do homem é precisamente 9 meses antes do dia da mãe. Muito bem.
Mulher, cadê o...
In the 70s, the women took their bras off and put them on fire, and they were like, we're sick of this.
Still in Sweden, if society can decide, it will probably be more in favor of the masculine side. I was lacking of information about being a father, and that was the starting point of the Swedish Dads project. The stories I've been taking is situation where you usually see the women in.
If the father is engaged in parenthood very early, he will continue to be engaged, and that is very valuable for the child when it grows up. And we know that from school grades, we know that from emotional well-being, we know that from social adjustment.
If I were to tell my friends, my male friends, that well, I don't do anything at home, I just sit around and I have housekeeping and Linda does everything, they would be like, that would be embarrassing.
Yeah, you're a pig.
Eller så borde jag göra så här. Nej, det måste sitta still, jag ska ta en bild.
There was a study a couple of years ago here in Sweden. They were asking children who they were going to if they were seeking comfort. So the first choice was the mother, of course. And then there came a relevant somewhere in the neighborhood. And also the third was the someone in the school. And not until the fifth place came the father. And that was before the alternative, that the children didn't want to go to anyone at all. So that really scared me. I didn't want to be that dad who my child didn't want to come to.
With my wife, yes, I wanted to be 50-50. I said yes, of course. But you can not just say yes, of course. You have to be. It's not going to happen, because if still in Sweden, if society can decide, it will probably be more in favor of the masculine side. So it's really it's a conscious choice, the living style we've chosen. And it's also sometimes quite hard.
Become a father was something that it's really hard to imagine. I did expect that I was capable to do more stuff than I actually was able to. It was a really hard work, even fun, but hard work. It's something that we men, we've always been taking for granted, and the thing that women never been recognized from before.
I guess imagine it must be a very nice feeling to get a new fresh diaper.
Yeah, me and my wife, we wanted to have the same understanding for both of us, for our child.
How was that?
I was kind of terrified of taking full responsibility of the child and so on, but that's something that grows. I think that you have to put in time there to get that knowledge. I was lacking of information about being a father, and that was the starting point of the Swedish Dads project. And as this Samad, who had 2 twins, about being the father that they can relate to and that they can feel comfort with.
We used to describe that as a mum feeling, but the thing is that it happens to anyone who is close to a baby. You also become more vulnerable emotionally yourself. So we have seen that fathers who take care of who live with their little premature babies in the hospital, they have a higher risk of postnatal depression than fathers who go home. So I think that it changes not only society on a level when it comes to working life, but it also changes you as a person, because it happens something emotionally when you come really close to a baby that is your own responsibility.
I think the most challenging thing is what's not so much with the baby or with the work in itself. It was because at work, and especially at my previous employer, they were very much understanding of having a baby and a kid. It's like, and in general, I think in Sweden, even if with more tougher companies, if they exist, it's quite accepted. So it's very normal that you stay at home as a father. But I think the challenging part was very much had to do with myself. I could not do anymore what I really wanted to do, or just not get up and take care of the baby, just stay in my bed like I could do before, or I can... Tack. Kan ge till Elisa också. And also with my wife, I think the relationship, I mean, it got more, before we had a lot of time for each other, and now we had a lot less time. I think that's, in the beginning we didn't notice that because there was so much focus on the baby. But after a while, I think we really had to do an effort to, stay in touch with each other like we did before, and to talk about that. I mean, really, before it was more natural, but now it was more, we had to do a conscious effort of taking care of each other also, and not only focusing on our work or the baby. I think that was the toughest. If, for example, if one of the kids get ill and has to stay home from school, it's like, okay, who's gonna stay home? But I have an important meeting. Yeah, but me too. But who's gonna judge whose meeting is the most important? So it's really tough sometimes, and it's a lot of, internal family conflicts. So we have to find ways to deal with that. For example, every school year we make a staying home for 6 children schedule in advance. So we find ways to kind of make it more neutral and not make it so much to depend on our jobs. Because if I say my job is more important, just maybe because I'm earning more, working more hours, doesn't mean that my work is more important. I mean, from her perspective. So, yeah.
I guess if you're living with someone and if they get happy when you do stuff, cleaning the house or taking out the trash and getting the kids from kindergarten, and your wife is more happy, well, then you benefit from it. But if you come home and just do nothing, sit on the couch, your wife is grumpy all the time, well, who wants that?
Definitely in my case, I have a more happy wife, and it's nicer to have a happy wife, but I think it's also somehow why should she? I mean, she must have the same possibilities as I, or even more, or I can have more. It's not. I think it should be gender neutral. It should be based more on, for example, if my wife would be totally crazy and really love her work, not because she's earning a lot, but because it's her ambition, it's her passion, then maybe she works more than me. That's okay.
Having a partner who works all the time, that would be a bit of a disgrace, I would say, because you expect that parenting is something that you share together with your husband.
The most important thing I got from the talk I had with the fathers was the bond that they created to their children, which is important, and the understanding as well for the partner, and the understanding how hard it is sometimes, and how much work you have to put in to become a good parent.
in Sweden we have more flat.
Everybody's more equal.
Yeah.
We don't, even if we have different classes, social classes, we don't like it. So everybody's supposed to be treated equal. So it's like a social thing as well. You split in the house, man and wife, you split the duties. And
We did turns on grocery shopping and cooking, and I don't do dishes. Fredrik does the dishes. I hate it.
well, you do stuff that I don't like to
Yeah.
do still. Nah.
But I think we've come a long way, but it's only over one generation. Even though my mother, I can notice, for example, that she is like, "Oh, Eric, maybe you do so lot in the household." And then it's funny because it's my mother, it's not my father. And she comes from her perspective, because she's used to do everything or most of it. But she thinks it's good, but she still is worried for me that I'm getting tired or burned out or something. From our parents, I mean, the old style, traditional way, it's changed in the 70s a lot. A lot of things happened in Sweden in the 70s, kind of a social revolution, slowly.
Yeah, but in the 70s, the women took their bras off and put them on fire, and they were like, we're sick of this. Like, we're sick of doing everything and that you don't do anything, and we want it to be more equalized.
We did it like that because we could get away with it.
Yeah.
These days you can't. If you don't do the stuff that you're supposed to do, well,
Then you're not a man.
well, yeah, and you get the woman will leave you because she can. So I don't think we would have done it voluntarily. But I like it. I wouldn't want to be my granddad in that way, sitting on the couch and doing nothing. Like.
So, and if you go back to your grandparents, definitely they'd like. I mean, I don't think they can imagine as much as we cannot imagine their lifestyle. But I think at some point, to make it happen all over the society, there needs to be some political enforcement, kind of laws to be passed, regulation to be passed. And I think that's happening with equality. I think it's not just by people wanting it. It's been a long. I mean, it's been a long fight.
The normal situation would be if we would share the days equally between the partners, then it would be much easier for both parents to go back to work. I mean, also with the pay gap, that would be changing. And women have much easier to go back to work, much easier to do in a career, and also much easier to hire a woman. You can actually change the whole society and make it more equal. It's huge.
How do you imagine the society when your kids are your age?
Yeah, that's a good question. Hopefully, we wouldn't be sitting doing this kind of interviews.
If you start to do it, and then Alfred watches that I do everything that Linda does in the house and everything, well, then it's just, for him he doesn't know anything else.